Karen the Warp Spinster here. Welcome to my channel today. I'm glad to have you with me to do some sewing. I am going back to my fairy tale themed improv quilts, and just to review, in the past I started out with Princess and the Pea, I think, and then went to Jack and the Beanstalk with some leaves, and then a pod of beans. Now I would show you these pieces in person, except that they went with me to a trunk show. I unpacked the trunk show, and I don't really remember where I put those. They're here, and I love them. So I will find them at some point. This time I want to try, I have to get this right, it's not Sleeping Beauty, it's Snow White with the apple. I keep thinking that Sleeping Beauty bit the apple that the evil queen gave her, but in fact Sleeping Beauty was she pricked her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel, right? So that may be coming up, but this is Snow White. If I slip and say Sleeping Beauty, you just know that I mean Snow White. So I'm going to make this kind of a fractured, sliced, sliding thing. And I've got some red here, which seems normal for apples, but it doesn't mean that at some point I won't be doing it with different colors. And then I also threw in some hot pink here. May not go in the same piece, I don't know. And we're going to be doing just some improv curves. As usual, I have a picture in my head. I have no idea if it's going to come out that way or if it's going to come out well at all. On this channel, we're into exploring. And by the way, I'm going to be talking through this process. Any of you who might be new here, I talk about my process, what I'm thinking, and why I make the decisions that I make. This is not a channel where you will find, here's a quilt and here's exactly how we're going to make it. There are many wonderful channels out there, and if you choose to go off and find those, I wish you well. There are many great ones out there. Anyway, so I am going to start off, it's going to have a black background as the rest of the blocks have in this, sorry, it's very linty, as the rest of the blocks have in this series that we're doing. I think I'm going to start off with a strip of red, and this will be on the outside. So think about slicing an apple this way. I don't know quite how to say it. Now, a whole apple, and just slice it down the middle while it's on its side, so it's in profile, and there are going to be slices of it. And I am going to use this fabric, so I'm going to cut a slice as well as some background pieces out of the black, and then I may cut several slices just so you have a better idea of what I'm thinking about. I have some red strips. For the moment, I'm just using the same fabric. At some point, I may swap it out, but I'm just going to start with this one. And I've made them sort of the length that you would see the graduations in an apple, where on one side it curves up and then you've got the dip in for the stem end, and then back down around again. So this is going to be very stylized, of course. What I want to do with each of these pieces, all but the center ones, most of these pieces, is to make this a curve, and it's going to be an improv curve, and we'll see how it goes. So I've cut this black strip a little wider, and I may in fact end up slicing these thinner, trimming them off and slicing them thinner. So let's go, say like this. And I will sew that curve, and then I'll come back and do just the same thing down here. In fact, I probably will, well, all right, I can cut it now while I'm at it and mark everything. And I'm giving myself enough room with this black to complete whatever size block I want, hopefully. May have to put in some more filler. And then this one wants to curve that way. So let me do, oops, set before I get my hands in there. All right, I'm gonna get my glove, if I can find it, just in case, because it's been kind of an accident-y week. So let's start there. Curves don't have to be the same, luckily. So I'm going to mark these, and as usual with the improv curves, I'm going to put needle down, go slowly, gently lift the top fabric over to meet the fabric that is on the bottom, and I prefer to do convex on top when I can. I am off to do that sewing after I change my thread to black. This one is finished. I will of course need to trim that. Improv curves just don't turn out perfectly because you have not allowed for a seam in there. I will put a link in the description to my video about doing improv curves. In fact, I have a playlist about curves and circles, which this video will probably be in, and I'll link to that as well if you haven't done improv curves yet. All right, so that will be trimmed. And now this one is going to want a curve that's more like this. So pretty, I don't know, rounded at the top and also at the bottom. If anything, it will err a little bit on the side of being deeper here, because in the center one, I need to do an indent for the stem. And I will do a smaller one at the bottom for, I don't know what you call that. It is not a root, the bottom of the apple. And then I'll just mirror things coming back this way. So it'll be like that and like this. About the end here. I have an idea, but it may be a little too funky. We'll see. I have to remember, I don't have to be literal about this. I'm just designing and playing. So I will proceed to do that on the rest of these, and then we'll come back and see how we might want to trim them, slice them, slide them, whatever. So let me spend a little time doing this. Does not look much like an apple, I admit, but remember we've got seams, so it will start to piece together, and it's not going to look completely like an apple. These, I think, well, we're going to finish up with this and then we can make some assessments. I think these maybe could have been a little shorter, but here we are. Now, in my mind, these are narrower strips. So I have to assess here, if I cut them in half, so this was a little more than 2.5, so it would be like 1 1/4. If I take a 1/2 inch of seams off there, that will be a very narrow piece. But that might be all right. Yikes, let's give that a go. And then there will be black strips in between here. So I am going to need to, and pretty narrow strips. Of course, I have a choice of, do I want them all the same width? I might vary them a little bit, but I want them to be pretty narrow. So, and then everything's going to be shifted anyway, just because that's what's in my head. So it probably won't look like an apple in the end. Anyway, we'll put a leaf up there. Maybe it will. All right, I will slice these and start putting them together with black strips, and I'll check in with you somewhere midway so you can see how it's going. One thing I did not mention that I kept meaning to, even though this is black and ordinarily I would have pressed toward the dark, I have pressed toward the red because it can handle it. The black is not going to bleed through, and even if it does, it will look like this in the pattern. But I wanted to lift it up a little bit off the surface, and by pressing it toward the red, then that lifts it a little bit. All right, off to do some slicing and stripping. All right, now, as always, there are choices. And you knew that a black and white stripe was going to enter into it at some point, or at least the possibility of it. And it still might not. But no circles, you say. Hang tight. There's still a chance. Let's see. The black and white stripe kind of, I don't know, breaks it up, and which can be a good thing. Not how I have it pictured in my head, though, so I think I'm going to go with the black stripe. Then when I do the leaves, I think I'll use something like that. So, back to putting strips in between. And I will just put them on one side, probably the right side of all of the strips, because then I want to do some shifting, and I won't be able to do that if I have them sewed on both sides. Off to do some strips. What we have here is a massive confusion that looks nothing whatsoever like an apple, even if I hadn't shifted things. So let me see. Let me unshift them for you here. And you can see that it's not, you know, sort of maybe a little bit like an apple, maybe stretched out. I don't know. I think I'm going to try stitching these together in sort of the apple shape. It's not going to be this stretched out because I'll have seams, of course. And then we'll see what we do from there. I have an idea for something more aptly that we can try out next week. So I'm wondering if I want to go ahead and shift these, since it's not going to look like an apple anyway. Now, let's go with the original plan. If worse comes to worse and it's really horrible, then I can take it out and redo it. It's not like I don't know how to rip out a seam, right? This one just kind of needs to be a little longer, doesn't it? But, oh, do you think that's better than if I have this in there? This is the other half of the dip for the stem. And I'm thinking maybe it'll be better without it. Okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this together and then a couple more foufaras I think I want to put on there. It looks vaguely like a stretched out apple. Something tells me Snow probably wouldn't have taken a bite out of this apple, and she never would have met her Prince Charming, I guess. Anyway, so I decided this apple needs to have a bit of a blush on it. And I'm not sure if it's going to be this color or a different color. Nor actually if it's going to be a circle, except that I love circles, you know that. And then for leaves, I pulled this out of my scrap stash and decided to use a black and white stripe for the stem in the middle of the leaf, and then I'll do improv cutting curves to make a leaf here, and then probably another one, although I may do it with this fabric instead of this one, so I really like this print as well. May as well break into this fat quarter and use it. And then this will probably get trimmed closer to the apple, and these will be in a strip across the top there rather than appliqued. So the other thing I thought about was putting circles here just to round out the end, and I was going to cut some fabric, but I didn't. I will do that now and come back. I will be the first to say that this does not look like an apple. Now it may be the apple of my eye, because the leaves look like eyes to me. And I did cut out a couple of circles to try to round out the end, but it's, well, I don't know, kind of adds a little something, I guess. Not really the effect I was looking for. And I think this will need to be a brighter color if in fact I even put it on. I don't know, it's kind of funky, but kind of interesting. It looks like a sunburned bumblebee who's gotten edema from too much sun. Ask me how I know that can happen. And I don't know, it's kind of funky. So this is not what I had pictured in my mind. I will just say that it is kind of interesting and fun though. Too much of the same fabric here, so I would change that. I would probably make these narrower, and I could still do that, I guess. And I would swap out the reds here, maybe even throw in this pink just to vary it a little. I mean, there's some pattern on the fabric, but it's not really enough to carry it. It's a lot of red. So I would want to break it up with something. I guess there could be, say, a highlight on it in white, which might pull in a little bit of this white there. Might do a little black and white stripe, what can I say? And I'm not sure this is the right size either. In fact, let me try a piece of white that is larger, because I think it needs something to break up all this red. Well, I don't know. I like that it's breaking up all of the red. It looks, it still looks like a sunburned bumblebee to me. I'm not saying I dislike it. I think it's kind of fun, but it's not what I was looking for in an apple. This would have a stem that would run here, probably of this black and white stripe. I don't know. I think it's kind of a hoot. I thought about putting that in the middle, but then it looks like another eyeball. Honestly, I think this would be a good way to do a bumblebee with kind of small wings. Anyway, that's all I'm doing today. Next week, I'm going to try, I mean, you know, I can't get away from this. If you know it's an apple, it's supposed to be an apple, maybe you can kind of see it if you squint just right, but that's it for today, for the sewing for today. Anyway, next week I will see if I have another idea for how we can do the whole apple thing, and we'll try that. But this is kind of a squished apple. You know, it could happen. Maybe it's going through a cider press. I did want to show you something else that I'm working on at the moment, which is I'm working on a ruler that makes sunflowers and compass rose things. And this is the book that comes with it. It's the Fat Robin ruler. And I tried it out first with, I don't know if I showed this to you. I might have showed this to you. Tried it out first with a sunflower that has the petals out of it. But the sample that I'm going to make for the class is a round sunflower. Well, half of them are round sunflowers. And I decided to go with this color scheme, this batik collection. And for the center, I think I want to do this. Now this purple is much redder than what's here. This is a bluer purple, but I will be pulling in that redder purple. And there's some red purple in this print as well. So I think that will be kind of cool. Maybe got some seeds in the middle of the sunflower here. So I'll be working on that. I have to do 6 similar to this. 3 of them will be these round sunflowers, and then 3 are compass roses, but that's all right. Mariner's compass, I guess. And they're of different sizes, and then there's kind of a neat arrangement. But I've been having fun with it. The ruler takes a little getting used to, but the book has good instructions, so it's actually quite fun. I haven't decided yet if I am going to machine or hand applique the centers, and then the outside I have a choice of doing applique, either machine or hand, or it could be a reverse applique. I haven't decided yet. Don't know yet. Lots to do yet. Decisions will be made later on. That's it for today. And I hope you have a good week. I hope I will see you next week. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.